He looks like the bowler hat guy.
he's a communist.
Okay, first of all, equating him with the bowler hat guy is disrespectful to him. Because the bowler hat guy was grossly inept. A hat got more stuff done than the bowler hat guy. Bowler hat guy. Okay. Underappreciated film, though.
Yeah.
Meet the Robinsons, which is all about Walt Disney. By the way. All right.
Looks like it's out of his head.
He's got enough foreheads for four heads. I know. All right. Okay. Here we go. The Russian Revolution. Dun, dun, dun. Record. Thank you. Already did it.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Trying to revive his job.
In the news last week, President Biden was going to bring up genocide charges against the Turks, and today, Prime Minister Erdogan President Erdogan, I don't know the Turkish leader's title, I guess I should, today said, that's fine, we'll just bring up your Native American stuff. So here we go. To which Americans replied, we've never denied that. All right. So despite the reforms of Tsar Alexander II, the reforms we spoke of a bit ago, and of the industrial growth, Russia remained a backward country. Again, that's biased, that's charged language. If you would like to, Lucas, you may sit in the seat that's labeled Jamari, so you can see.
Lucas doesn't.
It's fine. All right. They're not backward, they're agricultural. They're not as industrial. They're stage 2. There's lots of other ways that you can describe a country without calling them backward. Backward's a term that we don't use anymore, nor is the term third world used anymore. So, there they are. Such an interesting language.
Wait, term third world thing?
Why? It just means less developed or developing. Everybody is in some stage of developing. First world, second world, third world means that there are people who are always here, people who are always here, people who are. All right. I could turn it on, I guess.
This is kind of a random question. What is second world? Because I know first world usually means like the prosperous country, and third world usually means like the.
Well, the other terms you would use were core, periphery, and semi-periphery. So, like countries that aren't quite Europe or America and not stage 3. They're just, I don't know, stage 2 countries, not even really a thing that I ever heard of growing up. I just know them right from first to third.
Like Brazil.
Yeah. All right. There's Tsar Alexander III. There's Tsar Nicholas II. That's nice. The unwillingness of these czars right here to enact any kind of genuine political reform with respect to voter representation or who has the power pretty much set Russia up. If the people feel they have no voice, violence will become their voice. That's sort of paraphrasing Kennedy, but still. Or, what is it? Like the whole idea of a raisin in the sun. Wither and die. Excuse me?
We read that in English. All of it.
Oops.
Yeah, did we actually read it all? I was confused if we ever.
Wait, what was it?
It's like, I forgot.
What's a bad ending?
It's like a family that like.
Oh, it's the Adler guy. The dad.
Atticus.
Atticus Finch. No, that's the Kill a Mockingbird. Atticus Finch is to Kill a Mockingbird. It's about the black family buys the house in the one neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
All right. What? What'd you say about me?
I didn't say anything about you.
What'd you say about this place?
No.
I see you have a willing cohort. All right. In 1905, the Russian losses in the Russo-Japanese War exposed the weakness of the government and led to more unrest. Can't even beat those people. Is what they said. Maybe I'm paraphrasing. I don't know Russian. Ooh, lovely panel. And again, if you're looking at perspective. Huh. All right. On January 22nd, 1905, Cossacks opened fire on a peaceful crowd outside the Tsar's Winter Palace in St. Petersburg. What's that? The horsemen and the people from the eastern part of Russia, the southeastern part of Russia, another group of people.
Were they like working for the government or did they?
I have to assume that either they're working for the government or they're jealous that those people got to the protest first. I don't know. Probably work for them. All right. Bloody Sunday led to the revolution of 1905, which is sort of like a precursor for the big revolution. This is there are lots of Bloody Sundays in the history of revolutions and in the history of oppressed workers. This will not be the first one you'll ever hear about. So we start to have worker strikes. We start to see people rise up saying we're not going to take it anymore. There's the Navy. That's never a good sign when your military decides to side with take the side of labor and go on strike. And then here just shows you where the peasant unrest was, where land was taken. You have Soviet workers, you have naval stations. These are major strikes. With the triangles, there are major strikes where those triangles are. Yes, sir. Is that a stretch or a question?
It's a question.
Go ahead.
Is Bloody Sunday what we just talked about with the Cossacks opening fire?
Yep. Tsar Nicholas II reluctantly approved the October Manifesto, something about manifestos, including the election of the Duma, which is a Russian parliament. Okay, fine, you can have some sort of representation, people can have a vote. I doubt very seriously this is sweeping, but it's enough for me to keep my job. Sincerely, Tsar Nicholas II. C. Nicholas. All right. Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of association, creation of the Duma, and universal male suffrage. Voting, what?
What is freedom of association?
I'm assuming religious freedom. Although that's up there. So freedom of association could be, maybe they allow unions? Yeah. Or you can associate with those people? I don't know. Freedom to pick your friends? I don't know.
Right? Probably has to do with the work.
It's got to be the workers, yeah.
Because like,
Because they're the ones causing all the problems, yeah. So that's nice. It's 1905. Only 117 years after our Bill of Rights, or 114 years after our Bill of Rights. Why not? And the Enlightenment comes to Russia 150 years later. 150 later. All right, I can't do that SpongeBob voice. All right. Nicholas refused to work with the Duma, so he made it. And kind of like King Louis XVI of France, like, well, King Louis XIV never called the Estates General. They never met. Nicholas is like, fine, you go sit there. I'm not going to work with you people. Just be happy I made you. And they're pretty useful. And he pretty much ignored the new Constitution, too. Yeah. Pretty much like the diet, yeah. The diet was where, people? You asking or are you telling?
they just confident. Germany.
No. No, we didn't put it out. All right. The Russian Constitution in 1906 reconfirmed the autocracy of the Tsar. Yay! The Tsar was supreme over the law, the church, and the Duma. Okay. That's even harsh by French standards. The czar's above the law. Sam, you all right?
Yeah.
You're struggling.
I'm tired.
It confirmed the basic human rights granted by the October Manifesto, but made them subordinate to supremacy of the law. In other words, all those rights from the previous slide, okay, unless eyes are Nicholas II say no. Say no.
So he basically just has complete control over everything, even with the Constitution. Yeah.
Question asked, does he basically has control over everything, even with the Constitution? And the answer to all you fine people. Duh. Question. Okay. Russian army suffered from a lack of supplies and equipment in World War I. By 1917, Russia had 7 million casualties. And when you consider they're only really fighting one army, well, if you listen to my lecture, you know that. But
You got it at 10 o'clock last night.
look, I was grading.
Okay.
I got to edit it. What's up?
So why do they have 5 million?
And remember, under Peter, they tried to industrialize. Under Catherine, they tried to industrialize. Then someone tried to kill her. So she's like, no, forget it. They just never, they take like 2 steps forward, go 4 steps back. They just never were able to get industry up and running the right way. And you can argue because of ineffective leadership. So they have all this manpower, but none of this military power to go along with it. There's underfunded, undersupplied. Russia's political system, a weak Duma, a powerful but inept Tsar, was not conducive to total war mobilization. Again, total war is when the entire peoples, men, women, soldiers, are all engaged in fighting the war. If your factory prior to the war was making washing machines, just bear with me. I know it's 1907. For the war, you're going to make artillery. Like the entire industrial complex gets shifted to a wartime industry. You grow your own food, so the victory gardens, so the farms can provide food for the troops. In World War II, women did not wear pantyhose, and if they did, or hose or stockings, it was a luxury because that nylon was used for parachutes instead. Chocolate went to the troops, so not, pardon? Everything.
What is conducive?
It doesn't aid in it, doesn't help it work. Having no real legislative body and a pretty clueless leader makes waging total war difficult at best. Who's that? Rasputin. The fact, yeah, like, would you trust him at all?
Look at his hand. Look at his fingers.
His hands are huge.
Yeah, his fingers are all crinkly.
Well, there's reasons for it. September 1915, the Tsar took command of the armies. At the front, leading his wife, Alexandra, and her advisor, Rasputin, to control the government. Why not? At this point, what harm could it do? Just kidding. Lots. Okay. I can. Wow, it's amazing. We go from the Russian Revolution to the Cold War in 5 days. Craziness. All right. By early 1917, food shortages in Petrograd, St. Petersburg, led to massive demonstrations and strikes against the Tsar. It is worth knowing that food shortages, Russia did not corner the market on food shortages. Germany had food shortages. I'm sure France had food shortages. If you were on the struggling, not so good side of World War I, which ironically was all of them except America, you probably had food shortages, and that leads to discontent. Remember, the French just wanted bread for less than a month's wages. And that was one of the causes of the first French Revolution. So demonstrations and strikes against the Tsar. This is year 3 of the Great War. Be over by Christmas. That's what they said in 1914. August 1914, they said, "Now you'll all be home by Christmas." Oh, 1919. Anyway, Soviets attacking the Tsar's police. That doesn't bode well. Nicholas ordered troops to restore order. Instead, the soldiers joined the protests. If ever there was a sign, it was time to leave town. That would be it. Because remember, too, they're part of the underfed, undersupplied, why are we in this war people just as well, just as the regular non-military folk. On March 1917, Nicholas abdicated, stepped down, ending 300 years of Romanov family rule in Russia. He's just like, nope. Deuce. And he steps down. The Duma formed a provisional temporary government led by Alexander Kerensky, the first democracy in Russian history. They had democracy for 2 whole years. Ish. And capitalism for 2 whole years. Because want to know why Russia and communist countries struggle to develop mixed economies or capitalist economies? Is because they had no practice. That's right, fucking practice. The provisional government shared power with the Petrograd Soviet workers and soldiers' deputies. So they shared power with the Workers' Party and the soldiers. That's nice. That's a start. Pretty male-centric. But, you know, it is 1917. Summer of 1917, Kerensky authorized a new offensive on the Eastern Front, despite mounting losses and unpopularity. So, the Tsar steps down. We have this provisional working government. Let's go on an offensive. We'll show those Germans. The Army Order Number 1 put groups of soldiers in charge of army. Officers were dismissed, but Russia's offensive failed miserably. So they took the officers out of being in charge. It's worth noting that most officers in World War I were miles from the fighting. They made decisions on maps with communications from the front and were really, for lack of better words, I apologize in advance, entrenched in their way of thinking. I couldn't think of it. I was going to say ensconced, but entrenched would be. Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, leader of revolutionary Bolsheviks, saw World War I as an opportunity for communists to seize power in Russia. Where there is chaos, there is profit. All right. It's just so nice to have history with photographs. Okay. You didn't even ask, who won the weekend? What'd you do? Striper fishing. Is the law the same down here as it is up north? If they're not 3 feet, you can't keep it?
I'm not sure. I've seen the slots 18, 22 inches. Okay. And you have to attend the parking your books so that it doesn't get stuck.
Yep.
It's probably need to update.
Yep. All right, so we got fishing. Is anybody be fishing this weekend? if you can't beat fishing, dude, don't even put your hand up. All right. Lenin, unlike Karl Marx, believed the communist revolution was possible even in backwards nation like Russia. Marx believed you had to be fully industrial and that it would only happen once that clear distinction in classes as established. Lenin saw things differently. And so there's one difference between Marxist communism and Russian communism. Lenin believed Russia's small working class would embrace communism if a disciplined group of intellects led the revolution. All these revolutions, you gotta have smart people. That's what it's telling you. The working class, the mere sheep, need a leader, need a shepherd. Workers can't be leaders, is what they're saying. Gotta be educated. And there's a lot of historical and anecdotal evidence to support the importance of education in the revolution or overall success or anything else. But this constant, they're dependent on us, doesn't help. Just doesn't, I'm sorry, maybe it just bugs me. All right. April of 1917, Germans smuggled Lenin out of exile in Switzerland and put him in Russia. Basically, because he was not in Russia during the war. He was educated in Europe, like Ho Chi Minh of North Vietnamese fame was educated in France. Mao, I don't know about Mao, but a lot of various communist rulers were educated in Europe because that's where the better schools were.
All the North Korean dictators were.
Yep. And then they just made something up.
Why was he exiled from Russia?
This talk of revolution and things like that would get him on the Tsar's naughty list. So for his own preservation, he left in exile. The Germans smuggled him back, and basically what the Germans did is they just wound him up and let him go in Russia.
Wasn't there no Tsar back then?
There was that other government.
Oh,
Yeah, Kerensky and his cronies. He just said, look, I'll get Russia out of the war if I become ruler. I know you're tired. Stand up again. All right. So Germany's like, sweet, we'll smuggle you into the country. We'll just let you do that voodoo you do so well, and then we'll get that front taken care of. Remember, Germany was all about working deals. They tried to get the Mexicans to help keep the United States out of the war. Now they're releasing Lenin back into Russia to get Russia out of the war. Sir.
So, did the Russians know who Lenin was at all? Or
Yes.
Okay. So,
Yeah, because if he was a virtual unknown, there'd be no need for exile. Yeah. Lenin's slogan, peace, land, and bread, captured popular imagination. Bolsheviks won some support in Petrograd. They won some support there. Who wouldn't want peace when you're at war? Land, if you're a landless former serf. And bread. I'm not very familiar with Russian bread, but if it was French bread, sign me up. Or Portuguese rolls. Or some naan. All right.
I'm pretty sure Russian bread was low.
It's probably more rye-ish too. Okay. That, I believe, is Trotsky. Leon Trotsky organized forces preparing to seize power in the name of Petrograd Soviet. So he is competition for Lenin. Trotsky's communism, Trotsky's socialism was different than Lenin's socialism / communism. So now we have two different parties, two factions. There's that
What is a Soviet? It's like,
I don't know how
Russian.
I don't know what that translates. This was some anti-Trotsky propaganda from Lenin. It's like the hippie Marxist, little beatnik with the goatee. Obviously, he's pro-Jewish, which makes him an enemy. Yep, Star David. Yep. Pro-Trotsky propaganda. There he is. Again, I'm assuming that's the snake of Lenin or the current situation. November 1917, Trotsky seized power from the provisional government. He seized basically abandoned government buildings. Like England and Australia. There's nobody here. I'll take it. Although, unlike Australia, there literally was nobody here. And comrades, the workers' and peasants' revolution, about the necessity of which Bolsheviks have always spoken, has been accomplished. What is the significance of this worker and peasants' revolution? Its significance is that we shall have a Soviet government in which the bourgeoisie will have no share whatsoever. From now on, a new phase in the history of Russia begins, and this should in the end lead to the victory of socialism. Within Russia, a huge section of the peasantry have said that they have played long enough with the capitalists and will now march with the workers. We must set about building a proletarian socialist state in Russia. B.I. Lenin, Collective Works. Yeah.
So was Lenin and Trotsky been working together, or were they rivals?
Initially. Then no. Yes. Okay. Oh, here's the old World War I map again. I've seen this last night. In March 1918, the Bolsheviks agreed to the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. Russia lost 1/4 of the European territory and 1/3 of its population to this treaty, which also shows you how expansive Russia was with neighboring lands. But this gets Russia, out of the war. And much to the delight of Germany, so Germany can take all those remaining troops and head back west.
So like Ukraine and stuff used to be just part of Russia.
But before that, it was Ukraine. And then, but see, Russia took it, and then now they lost it.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah. Yes, sir. Germany. Germany was fighting on two fronts because the whole Belgium thing didn't go as planned. Belgians. All right. Also, this is the armistice line of the Russian Revolution. They stopped fighting in December of 1917. That's when the Tsar abdicated. Treaty officially ended it. So once 1917 rolled around, let me correct myself, all these troops that Germany had went west. What?
Like, Bolsheviks made this treaty with who else?
Germany.
Germany.
There they are.
So they lost. So obviously a lot of their population was in Europe, right?
Well, in Ukraine and Poland and Romania and places like that, yes. Yep. Yeah, once you get to Moscow, once you go east of Moscow, yeah, the population diminishes until you get all the way across. I think Vladivostok is like all the way on the other side of the continent. Russia later repudiated the treaty, and the Allies declared it null and void after the war. Disagreed with it, refused to acknowledge it, argued its validity. Look at all these words you're learning. All these words you can drop on your exam, make the reader go, woo, the kid's wicked smart. All right. I miss saying that word. Wicked. What?
Actually, so after the war, they just kind of canceled the treaty.
Well, yeah, there's gonna be a whole other treaty. Yeah. That they're not even invited to. That was also Lenin, The Bolsheviks immediately legalized the peasant seizure of land. Peasants, go take you an acre. Yes, everybody, grab a slice. And like Syndrome says, if everybody's super, nobody's super. Everybody has if everybody's wealthy, no such thing as wealth. That's sort of the whole Marxist argument. All right. In 1918, Lenin promised free elections, but when communists lost across Russia, Lenin and the Bolsheviks decided to seize power. That was their moment. And think about this. I more so than you because of when I was growing up, when I was in school, see Russia as a communist country. And they really aren't communist in that sense anymore. It's an oligarchy, it's corrupt as all get out, but economically speaking, it's much more mixed economy with like communist overtones. But look, it seems to me that not all of the Russian people were on board with it. So imagine if Lenin had done a George Washington and just stepped down and acknowledged defeat. Think about the entire trajectory of our country and the world if Lenin doesn't question the election and seize power. Like, that's crazy. That's huge in the whole theoretical sense of things. But okay, I guess the people don't want it. We can try a little harder, or maybe work in pockets. But no, we're gonna have a classless society, and we're in charge. No, it's not. Well, remember, there's always a ruling class, and then there's everybody else. In this type of economy and system, there's one group of smart people making the decisions, and then everybody else is the same. Okay. Anyways. Summer of 1918. We're still in World War I in the rest of the world. The Bolshevik destruction of democracy led to civil war, as several white armies sought to overthrow Lenin. And by white, they mean Reds versus whites.
Reds being communist.
Reds being communists, whites being socialists. That's Trotsky. Trotsky led the whites. Yeah.
So when you say he lost, he wouldn't want a free election?
No. He said, look, part of our thing, we will have free elections. Everybody can vote. And lots of Bolsheviks were losing seats. Like, lots of people in Russia were voting for something other than his revolution.
Oh, okay.
And as soon as he realizes that, he's like, whoa, no.
Okay.
Yeah. Trotsky formed a highly disciplined Red Army and won the Civil War in 1920. Trotsky now remember how Germany was involved with Mexico? Germany also sent arms to, and if you've ever watched Peaky Blinders, you would know this. Germany also sent arms to Ireland to help the Irish fight the British for their independence in the early part of the 20th century. Germany was in meddling. We sent troops to help Trotsky. The United States government sent troops to help the white army.
Yeah.
I know that, but we still sent troops anyway. Like, they were during this time period. I don't know if this teacher's going to reference that or not.
So who was in charge of it? Where did the Red Army?
The Red Army just means Russian. He had his own army. They're two different factions of the same army. Half of his army, half of the people are going to go with him, half are going to go with Lenin, just to keep the math simple.
So was Lenin the white?
So is that guy non-commie, or is he?
He's more socialist than he is straight up Marxist communist. He's different. They're different threads within the same family.
Okay, so who is leading the non-communists?
No, there are no they're socialists. There's probably, the non-communists are going to be if you're a non-communist back then or non-socialist back then in Russia, then that means you're probably pro-Tsar, and that wouldn't be something you want to talk about. So that's what you're doing. All right. Anyway, the Reds won Civil War for many reasons, including controlling the strategic center of the country. That helps. The Bolsheviks' white opponents were divided and lacked a. Oh, wait a minute.
Isn't that be white?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Yeah. So Trotsky formed a highly disciplined. No, that should be okay. Wow. Okay, that is Trotsky. That should probably be Lenin for the name, because Lenin had the Red Army. Because the Red Army controlled most of Moscow and Bolshevik Russia. The White Army, to your point, was probably divided amongst various groups of not wanting to be Bolshevik.
The Lenin one.
Yes.
Lenin and the rest on the
Yes.
and the white.
Yeah, that confused me as well. I'm sitting there like, I know that Trotsky should have won it, and I know that had he won it, things are different. I know that America supported Trotsky, but we probably couldn't. I mean, I don't know how public it was. I don't know how public, like, I don't know how large the assistance was. Anyway, non-Russian Bolsheviks. So you have non-Russian anti-Bolshevik forces up there near Petrograd, up there near Archangel. Oh, what a nice name for a town. This is all the Russian territory that was lost with the treaty. Here are your non-Russian anti-Bolshevik forces. Here are attacks by the white forces. So you have all kinds of groups going after the Reds. The red arrows are Trotsky. The blue arrows are non-Russian, non-Bolshevik people fighting against Lenin and the Reds.
How did Lenin?
What?
How did Lenin? It's on there. Oh, okay. They're controlling this.
They control the strategic center of the country. Remember, Russia is pretty much Moscow and then hinterland. If you can control Moscow, you can control news, information, the railroads. So they controlled the hub of the country. That helps. Also, the white opponents were divided and lacked a single clear program. Do we want to go back to the Tsar? Do we want democracy? Do we want something else? Just being against Lenin wasn't enough to sustain victory. There was nothing they could all grab behind. It's almost analogous to our current political situation in America, except there was enough disdain for the president for different factions in the Democratic Party to vote him out and different factions in the Republican Party to vote him out. But not having one thing to go on is ultimately going to hurt the Democratic Party in America moving forward. There's no one shared vision. All right. And to that end, there really isn't, well, in the Republican Party, there's not one shared vision either. So we should have multiple parties, but that's it. The Reds mobilized the home front, used forced labor, grain rationing, and used terror to maintain discipline and subdue opposition. This is not a people's revolution anymore. This is what we're going to have because I say so. I mean, we're all going to get something. Yes, I guess it is. And I don't, but then again, how can you have a revolution? This goes back to revolutions in general. Somebody has to spearhead every type of revolution. Somebody has to be the person with whom we see being like the revolution. Scientific revolution had key people. Industrial revolution had key people. It doesn't, I can't think of a revolution that's genuinely organic in its inception and genuinely from the ground up without anybody above the ground offering input. I can't think of one. That doesn't mean there weren't any. I just can't think of one. Somebody has to call the shots. for a revolution to occur, even if the idea and the reasons for it are noble. Everybody gets to eat. Everybody has a say. That's what he thought. There's no class. I'm not gonna, the poor aren't gonna carry the rich anymore. Whatever. But I don't know how that happens if you just leave it up to the poor. And that's just me posing I don't know. Something to think about. Allied military intervention against the Reds led to Russia resentment against the whites and their foreign supporters. So they'll remember who helped them. This was probably, the beginning of America and Soviet tensions. Sorry, I hear fingers. Okay. Very teal. Oh, the Romanovs. Nicholas II and his family were murdered by the Reds in order to prevent their return to power. Then there's the whole myth way back when I was a little kid about them finding the body of Anastasia, or Anastasia's alive, or blah, blah, blah. No, dead. Disney movie about her, which I never understood why you would do that.
I believe they actually did eventually find her.
Her remains.
Like in 19.
Nicholas, Alexandra, Olga, Tatiana, Marie, Anastasia, and then the son. Oh, that's nice. Okay. 1922, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the USSR, the CCCP, if you're Russian, was formed. That's what USSR in Russia, CCCP. Doesn't translate directly, because remember that's Cyrillic language. That's a whole different thing. First communist country in the world. We're number one. We're number one. There used to be 8. All right.
China, Russia,
Cuba, all of Vietnam,
Oh, right.
North Korea, a lot of the Baltic states. Vietnam is still communist. It's just a functioning communist country. It's a mixed communist country.
Isn't Laos also?
Probably. Oh, map. Okay. All right. What's number 1?
Russia.
What's number 2?
Ukraine.
3. Okay, we got a flex here. 4.
Uzbekistan.
5.
Kazakhstan is that one.
6.
Georgia.
7.
Azerbaijan.
What?
Lithuania.
9.
Moldova.
10.
Latvia.
11.
Kyrgyzstan.
12.
Tajikistan.
13.
Armenia.
14.
Turkmenistan.
Russia.
That has to be.
Belarus. Belarus stands for Pretty Russia, by the way. Belarusians, Pretty Russians.
Yeah, I know. That's the point.
Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Lithuania, Moldova, Latvia, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan. You didn't get Armenia. Latvia. You know those people that died in self-defense? All right. Turkmenistan. It's well done, and it's still needed. But it's okay. Dude, that's pretty impressive right there. All right. All right.
I knew none of this except for Russia.
I knew Russia.
I knew that
Ukraine,
I
Moldova.
You get
All right.
I knew they were over there, but I didn't know.
I knew they were over there.
I knew
Lenin, Stalin, and communist Russia. Yeah. And we've seen that picture. Famine, a weak economy, and unrest plagued Russia following the Civil War. Yes, hungry people tend to not be happy. Poor people tend to not. Stalin, Stalin. The man Lenin said, don't choose him. Man of Steel, yeah. Stalin. In 1921, Lenin developed the new economic policy calling for elements of capitalism. What? What's this, you hypocrite? A retreat from communism. Wow. What have we here? Anyway. And I love communist propaganda and art and posters. By the way, the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea has a website, and you can buy North Korea swag. Yeah, it's probably blocked here at school because it's educational. We looked up like, yeah,
North Korean merch.
we are not civilized enough for socialism. Interesting. You can go to North Korea twice a year. There are 2 one-week windows where Americans can go visit North Korea.
Yeah, I kind of want to go.
You can get arrested for stealing a propaganda.
No, what I want is I want somebody to search. I want somebody to go to China, and I want them to find the one shopkeeper brave enough to sell Tank Man posters in their shop. Because I want a Tank Man poster. The guy who stood in front of the tank in Tiananmen Square.
Oh, can you just buy that?
Yeah, but would it be the same
Yeah.
as buying it in China? Oh, no, sir.
Watch it.
You should have brought that up.
It'd be like collection.
That's pretty educational. That's the best.
Small businesses denationalized and peasants, including the kulaks, I'll explain that. They were allowed to establish free markets for their farm products. What Lenin seems to be acknowledging here is that,
I'm on the website.
awesome, is that, and now
Should I
the,
go in the mailing list?
and now the government, you want the government, our government, if you join the North Korean mailing list, I'm pretty sure that sends a flag to the CIA. All right, just do it with your Wade County. Everybody do it with your Wade County. All right, no. I am not advocating that.
It has a bunch of people on a beach, like celebrating in bathing suits and throwing up, so looking happy.
All right. So here we go. The kulaks were your former peasant farmers in the East, by the way. The land of the landlord had been spontaneously seized by the peasantry. Spontaneously, they were told. Peasants with a couple of cows, 5 or 6 acres more than their neighbors, were now being labeled kulaks. So if you were a former peasant who had land, or you were somebody who just had a few acres your whole life, you were considered a kulak, which is sort of undesirable.
So there's like rich peasants.
Sure. The Communist Party remained in control of large industries, oils, railroads, and steel. That's just socialism. It's an excellent movie that I wish you could watch called, and if you have a chance, called Goodbye Lenin. Just to put it briefly, there's a woman, it takes place in East Germany, and it's Zeno's first movie. And his mother is a worker for the Socialist Party in East Germany, and she's a devout communist, and then she gets sick and falls in a coma, and while she's in a coma, the wall comes down. And so her son spends this rest of the movie trying to keep the lie alive that it's still communist. And it's really good. But you see a lot about what it was like, about choices and no choices, and it's pretty cool movie. The NEP successfully revived the Russian economy to pre-World War I levels. The National Economic, what was it called? New Economic Policy, the NEP. So the new economic policy got the Russian economy back up to pre-World War I levels, which ain't great, but it's better than the post-World War I levels. All right. Russia went blank.
That's it.
No. Oh, there he is. Lenin.
Wait, that's it.
That's him.
Is he like sick or something?
He aged quickly. Yeah, I guess so. Lenin died creating a power struggle between Leon Trotsky and Joseph Stalin. So he died. Stalin is too rude. The next leader of USSR should be more tolerant, more loyal, more polite, and more considerate to comrades. So he thought Stalin was not the right person for the job. Everyone. Except for Joseph. Except for Joseph Stalin. He's like, no, I'm good. I got this.
It's like constant. Remember that?
Yes.
We
The world's most dangerous frog?
watched the Muppets in class.
They weren't you. Weren't
Oh yeah, you guys weren't here.
Yeah.
Well, we're in cohorts for watching
We
movies.
watch movies during lunch.
We watched Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool now.
All right. But you didn't watch the ending.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Trotsky was Lenin's most trusted companion. He believed Russia should support communist rebellions around the world.
They literally fought a war.
They did. But lots of people fought against the red thing. It's a civil war. And in a civil war, you're trying to figure out how your countries should work. At the end of the day, Trotsky and Lenin were more alike than Lenin and Stalin. At the end of the day, Trotsky's view was global. Let's spread this puppy. Stalin, a quiet man, right there, who as general secretary of the Communist Party, placed his supporters in key positions. So he's already setting it up for when Lenin dies to assume power or to be an influencer, to use a contemporary term. He doesn't look quite so bad there. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have, like he's you know.
It doesn't look very scary.
He has a nice staff.
Look at that.
I don't want to join the Korean friendship position.
The Korean what?
Yeah, I'm looking at the application to join the Korean Friendship Association. Anyone who shares the same common goals of North Korea. I'm not gonna do it though.
Does it list the common goals?
Oh yeah, it has some rights. It talks about freedom of speech, freedom of all kinds of stuff.
I'm reading the description.
It sounds pretty good, but
Yes.
it says freedom of the press. It does. Let's see, where was it?
All the people are completely liberated from exploitation and oppression.
You click on one of the links that has a list of all the heroes of Korea.
Oh yeah.
It's got to be the great leader, the
It
whatever.
says,
Yeah.
respected supreme leader, Comrade Kim
Uh-huh.
Il-sung. Eternal leader, Comrade Kim Il-sung.
You know what's really great? I think I went to an event that was sponsored by this. I went to the Korean cultural fair or something like that. With my
Koreans. All right.
But it was, I promise, I feel like it was sponsored by this. But they had a bunch of South Korean stuff too.
I'm sure, because you gotta have that pretense. Stalin believed communism should start in Russia first and become strong in Russia, and then global revolution. So Stalin was Russia first, then the world. Trotsky was like, no, let's just all be in this together.
So they're trying to convert the entire world economy.
Yeah.
I think that'd be honest.
Stalin drove Trotsky from the Communist Party and stood alone as Soviet leader in 1927. Trotsky ran away.
When do you later kill him?
Stop, shush. God, man, bless you. Oh, he's all by himself. I never see him with family. He actually tried to kill his own son. He gets a little paranoid. The assassination of Leon Trotsky. I took out the ice axe from the raincoat, gripped it in my hand, and with my eyes closed, dealt him a terrible blow on the head. Yep.
That's so right.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna get
So in the same year that he was kicked out of the Communist Party, he went. I think he was killed in Mexico. Like he sought asylum in some other part of the world and they found him. Because he's a threat to Stalin. As long as he's alive, he's a threat. As long as the messenger breathes, the message is still unsent. That's why messengers in the war are always shot there until there's no more air coming out of the lungs. Because as long as there's air in the lungs, the message is still alive. In 28, Stalin launches a series of 5-year plans. Yeah, never trust a 5-year plan. And designed to transform the Soviet Union's economic and social structure. Obviously, it's not successful because it says a series of 5-year plans. No, this time. No, this time.
I went Ace Hardware down their house at a soda wall, and they had a Lenin made, and it was like, yeah, and then it was like not accurate because 5-year plans were Lenin, but then it also said something about 5-year plans on the back. I'll have to get my friend to send me the picture, but it was very big.
Leninade?
Yeah.
What? That's outstanding. What Ace Hardware?
Yeah, it's going to Lucas Scouts, but I'm not pretty sure.
It's hardware.
Yeah, they have a soda.
No, but there's the Ace Hardware at Seaboard Station. There's the Ace Hardware on Durant Road. There's the Ace Hardware over there by Whole Foods. Or no, by Bottle Mix and
It's that one.
okay, all right, yeah, okay, all right, I'll go there. Okay,
One in Florida, Dr. Bob.
and there's a 5-year plan poster. Industrialize, make us great, yay! And the new economic policy was ended. No more capitalism. So Lenin's NEP ends with Stalin. That looks like a very young Khrushchev. A command economy was created where the government makes all economic decisions. What you're going to make, how much of it you're going to make, what you will charge for it, what I will pay you for it, everything. That is a command economy. North Korea operates under one of those today. In so much as it has an economy. I don't know who. I do not know with whom they trade. They used to be. Russia kept North Korea afloat, and then Soviet Union collapsed. Oops. So I'm assuming China keeps them afloat. Which
Yeah, they like give them a ton of food.
heavy industries, steel, were emphasized for rapid development. This is almost 1930s. So you can kind of see where we're headed here. World War I has definitely ended. We are in the interwar period. And with an economy not so great, and I don't know the particulars, but it would seem to me that Russia would probably feel the effects of the Great Depression much less than a developed country. Same kind of thing was true in America. The states that were more agricultural and less industrial, although they felt it, didn't feel it to the extent of the industrial cities, the industrial states, the Great Depression, unless you're like out in Kansas where there's in Oklahoma where there's dust. Stalin created collectives to increase farm production. No more private land. So basically, it's collectivized farming. All the land you people own is not one big piece of land. You all work the land, and I want so much grain per year. There are now grain quotas. That way, everybody's fed.
So this is like sort of like
Yeah. Where the government owns all the land and everybody's a serf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, he just did everything to undo it.
Yeah. Lenin, you look at the history of communist Russia, Lenin's probably one of the most moderate communists they ever had. Until you get to Gorbachev.
You get a who?
Gorbachev,
Where's that?
the last one.
Which one met with me?
He's the one who basically let Yugoslavia, he's the one who basically tried to give, sort of like what Austria did with Hungary, let them have autonomy, but he keep them part of the family. So he let them start to govern themselves and make what hoping they'd stay together. And then it's under Gorbachev that the wall comes down. And yeah.
Why was the wall even up?
We'll get to that next week. Comrades, come comrades, with us to the future. All right. The 5-year plan's commitment to industrialization was successful by 1940. The Soviet Union is the third most industrial country in the world. It's got to be Europe. Can't be. Oh, maybe, because Germany, well, we don't know because Germany wasn't declaring anything. They were hiding it all. America, China's not there yet. China hasn't done their 5-year plans yet. A great leap forward. So maybe England, America, and Russia. That's it. We will turn the 5-year plan into a 4-year one. Nice. Stalin's attempt to collectivize farming was not successful. Kulaks opposed the surrender of their land. They refused to join collective farming. Think about this. You've been a serf throughout your family's history, a landless peasant. Then you have the opportunity to get your own land, and now you want someone to tell you to give it up? And gosh, they're so capitalist. They're so elitist. All of a sudden, 1 acre. I'm not giving it up. It's 1 acre. So collectivized farming met some hiccups. That's got to be one of the brightest, sunniest paintings I've ever seen of Soviet Russia. All right. The Soviet government's successes in the sphere of the collective farm movement are now being spoken of by everyone. Even our enemies are forced to admit that successes are substantial, and they are all really are very great. I use the best words. Stalin denounced the kulaks and ordered an army to liquidate them as a class, execute, starve, and deported them to labor camps. Liquidate. In a quote, liquidate them. That's amazing.
That could be one of the ways.
If you're not going to give it, I shall take it. On our collective, there is no room for kulaks. Well, no, there isn't. All right. Please. We will keep out kulaks from the collective. Okay. Get it. Oh, that's what they're saying. Let's destroy the kulaks as a class. So the posters get progressively worse. We can't have any. Don't let them in. The heck with it. Yeah, the tractor. Yeah. Living standards for ordinary citizens, workers, and peasants declined through the 1930s. What? Crazy talk.
They seem so happy with that.
Don't they seem so happy? Giving the great leader flowers? The regime did provide old age pensions, free medical services, free education, free daycare, and full employment.
That's not.
Yes.
How is education like used if you all just work in factories?
Well, you need management. You need inventors. You need scientists. You need those people. Just because full employment means
the same, so why would
no. Thank you for saying that. Full employment means everybody works. Full employment does not mean everybody does the same thing.
I wasn't thinking that. I didn't look at.
You mean mostly factory workers? Most of the people are still going to be farmers.
Okay.
Most people in Russia are still going to be farming the collectives, then working in factories.
Did everyone actually make the same or no?
What?
Did everyone actually make the same or no?
No.
Okay.
No, everybody did not make the same. Yes.
No, this says free education.
Yep.
Acting free education for everyone.
Probably. Every Russian, every Soviet.
Still all boys at that point.
What?
Still all boys.
No, I think that's the point that Ben was making. That I think in a communist society, if there are no classes, then that shouldn't matter either. Stalin began purging members of the Communist Party he didn't trust, and he purged those opposed to collectivization, and he purged anybody who he seemed as a threat to his power. which was 30 million people. I don't know, crazy number of people Stalin killed in his parents. We'll find out. So, and you know that everybody listened to everybody. Neighbors, I mean, you know, it was just a rat fest. It was just snitcherama in communist Russia. This is the Central Committee of the Communist Party in 1917.
Stalin just like Gorbachev.
Oh my goodness.
Stalin looked exactly like Gorbachev.
Is it gonna be every single one?
Oh,
Wait,
Not
Stalin-
one original member.
Oh, is that Stalin's brother?
Yeah, my son. Before, after. Before, after. Before, after. All right.
Those actually the people, or they just make
They're erased from the photographs. Yeah. Erased from the photographs, erased from history. The Great Terror was a state-sponsored program to eliminate old Bolsheviks, intellectuals, army officers, party members. Why them? Why are they always a target?
Because they can organize.
That's right. That's your revolutionaries.
Like the Germans, I think, burned the books.
And the Chinese went after the intellectuals. Everybody was after the intellectuals. Intellectuals cause problems. Smart people cause problems. So go be problems. Grow up and be a problem. Stalin used secret police to check out public show trials, executions, and mass imprisonment to terrorize the entire nation.
You said public execution?
Public executions, yes.
Was that not?
No. When you are the law, and when you're above the Duma, when you're above whatever constitution they have, who's going to stop you? If anybody tries to stop you, well, you'll join them and you'll be killed. Yes, sir. That's a great idea.
if he's above the law in the Constitution, isn't that what the Tsar was? Way back?
Not even way back. 25 years. That's all it was. Check out. Check out. All Russian Extraordinary Commission for Combating Counter-Revolution and Sabotage. Heck yeah. Those slides. There they are. There they are. Without mercy, we will kill our enemies in scores of hundreds. Let them be thousands. Let them drown themselves in their own blood. For the blood of Lenin, let there be floods. Let there be floods of blood of the bourgeoisie. More blood, as much as possible. Cheka. That Russian Extraordinary Commission for Combating Counter-Revolutions and Sabotage.
Wait, they were not revolution.
They're against revolution.
And this was state.
This is state-sponsored, yes. Big brother. Let the enemies of the working class know that everyone stopped with a weapon and arms will be shot in place. Bummer. All right, well, there's 2 slides left. We'll do 2 slides tomorrow, and then we'll talk about America. There's 1, and there's 2. 8 million were arrested. Millions of innocent people died in forced labor camps called gulags. There you go. 8 million of his own people were arrested. Thanks, everybody. Tomorrow we'll look at America in the 20th century. That should be fun. And then Wednesday we'll talk about fascism. Oh, what a happy week. Okay. See y'all tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Yeah.